guidance and support. And thank you.
Good morning. On behalf of the Union Square Minyan, we'll be meeting next Sunday. No. I am here today only because a friend of my wife Becky's, Ellen, emailed her with Abby's email, and Becky said, "Why aren't you going?" So I am here only on the shoulders of the women who said you should show up today, and that's really the right thing. Before we began this gathering this morning, the organizers, Abby as a leader, we all gathered right around here about 9 o'clock in the morning, and someone turned to me and said, "Would you please offer a prayer before we begin this day?" And so instead I did something better, I hope. I dedicated this day to a colleague who'd rather be here this day. And I'm honored that Beth Sholem is doing a day of teaching the memory of Rabbi Alan Blue. But I will say categorically that if Alan had his choice, he would, one, be alive. He would have had a full breakfast. He would have done his yoga. He would have exercised. He would have felt pretty good about himself for about 5 minutes, and he would be here. So we dedicated this morning, I dedicated this morning to his memory, because we're doing what he would have done had he been here to be with us. But also we are dedicating this day to not just Nofrat Frankel and Anat Hoffman, but for the tens of thousands, if not millions, of women and men of Israel who consider themselves faithful Jews, observant Jews, who want to have the same freedoms and opportunities as every other Jew. And so we are not here against, and we are not here to protest, but we are here to affirm. We are here to support. Becky and I were just in Israel last week, and the Shabbat in Jerusalem, we had Erev Shabbat dinner with Paula Edelstein, who's now with the Aliyah department for years with Artsenu, and she made Aliyah decades ago. And she expressed to us at her Shabbat table how difficult it is as a progressive Israeli to live in Jerusalem and have freedom in public spaces. And that's why we're here. So the teaching I want to share with you is not about Israel, it is more about us and public spaces. This is a public space, and it was with trepidation that many of us decided to go with this idea and come to a public space, because we have actually had difficult encounters in public spaces in San Francisco. And this has been a beautiful day, a beautiful morning. We are very fortunate in that regard. But this is about a public space. The Kotel is first and foremost a retaining wall of Herod's great temple of Jerusalem. All of you know this by now. But it changed after the destruction of the Temple of Jerusalem. It changed. It became magnetic east. It became, in the Talmudic tradition, the direction that all Jews would turn in prayer. And the Talmud invents us. The Talmud reinvents us and says that wherever you are outside the land of Israel, we turn east. If you're in the land of Israel, you turn towards Jerusalem. If you're in Jerusalem, you face the Kotel, or what they called the Kotel, Bayit. And if you're there, then you even imagine yourself in the Holy of Holies, which of course you cannot go into, but in your imagination you can go into. And then you even go past the Holy of Holies into sacred space that is no place. And the last line is, so that all of us, Kol Yisrael, are standing together as one. So the idea that we cannot be one at this place is the wrong idea. And I give you a very simple way that you can act on this idea. It's not by boycotting, because that's negative and foolish. It is not by being angry, because that is self-defeating. It's by going. You want to do something positive for Women of the Wall? Go to Israel. Join them. support them, stand with them. So we stand today with Anat Hoffman, with Paula Edelstein, with the thousands of progressive Orthodox men and women inside Jerusalem who want freedom of expression. We stand with them. And that's why I asked Abby to read in English from the paragraph of the V'ahavta. I'm not texting, I'm reading from a text. But I've noticed that my cooler, younger colleagues all do this now. So in a vain attempt to be a cooler, younger colleague, I'm reading from my notes. But we want a wall for all. And it's important to note, by the way, that this arrest of Nofrat happened not on the men's side, but in the women's side. She was actually compliant with the mechitza that was imposed, and so the men had to invade the women's section to therefore invade the heart of Torah. And so the second paragraph says, "Speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make tzitzit on the corners of their garments throughout their generations, so that they put on the fringe of the borders, and they hold it in their hands, and they do not venture into foolishness." And that is what we're trying to help our people do. Leave foolishness. So it is with joy that I see that daughters of our congregation that I gave a talis, or rabbis gave a talit to, their bat mitzvah, are here today wearing that talit. So I want to conclude with a sacred text. Yehuda Amichai would probably, had he be alive and be here today, be humored to find out that he's become the great liturgist of the 21st century. That his poems are entering into Jewish liturgy all around the world. I hope that he finds this hilarious. But this is the text I wanted to share as this teaching, as this drosh. Because possibly our entire prayer book is composed, except for even the biblical sections, of voices like Yehuda's, who simply called out one day and someone said, "That's good. I'm writing that down." So this is good, and I pasted this in.